Okay, good evening. Decided to do a live tonight kasi medyo mabigat yung ano. Inaral ko muna kasi yung mga issues. And I was thinking to do this live kasi maraming mga katanungan dito. Okay, ano yung mga issues surrounding the speakership? Well, we posted most of them and most of them are constitutional. So as we know, yung ating Pangulo ay nag-address sa ating bansa at sa likod niya, notably, marami naman nakapansin, may apat na general na nakatayo. And he was visibly angry. So anong sinasabi? Ang sinasabi ng Pangulo is that uh, hindi dapat maipasa na yung budget. The long and short of it is dapat maipasa ang budget at hindi na dapat ito ma-delay. Kasi nga, maghihirapan tayo with a reenacted budget ngayon nga nasa pandemya tayo. At we want to make sure na next year, tuloy pa rin yung mga proyekto, tuloy pa rin ang mga essential services, at yung mga inilalaan para sa susunod na taon para we can cope with COVID. As well as remember nag-declare siya ng state of emergency hanggang next year. So, I'm sure at the top of his mind itong COVID. So, he had made it clear na para sa kanya mali na issue ang budget and therefore, kung hindi daw i-resolve ito, then he will address it himself. Siya daw ang gagawa. Kung hindi ninyo maayos, ako mag-aayos. Parang to that effect. Okay, so the live was yesterday, the president's address was yesterday, and then this afternoon, ayun na, ito na, nag-issue ng call ang ating Pangulo para sa special session ng Kongreso. Ngayon, may mga tanong tungkol dito, but first, what brought this about? Kasi, ang Kongreso, hindi po ang nire-require po ng ating saligang batas yung pag ako nireklamuhan nyo na naman ng audio ha. Okay, ang nire-require ng ating saligang batas ay kapag budget ang batas, which is the General Appropriations Act, kailangan ang bill na ito ay mag-emanate from Congress. Manggagaling sa Kongreso yung bill na ito. Okay? Guys, yung mga suggestions ninyo on who's going to be the next speaker, we'll deal with that later. Pero seriously, I don't think that it's not up to us. Okay? Okay, next. Kailangan manggaling sa Kongreso. Kaya naging significant yung una, sinabi na okay, naka-second reading, tapos sinasabi na, more or less, tapos na daw yung budget, sinuspindi yung session. Okay, tama ba yung pagsuspindi ng session? Well, nakalagay sa ating saligang batas na you cannot adjourn for more than 3 days kung walang concurrence ng Senado, nung kabilang house, tinatawag natin, ng kabilang chamber. So, dapat ang suspension ay 3 araw lang. Pag lumampas ito, kailangan makipag-usap sila sa Senado para makapag-adjourn sila for more than 3 days. So, yung sinasabi nila, hindi naman kami nag-declare ng end of the session or suspension lang naman ito. Hindi daw yun adjournment. But that's not what the Constitution says. Dun nga sa ating saligang batas, it says adjourn for more than 3 days. So, yung sinasabi nilang suspension is merely play on words na sandali lang. Parang ganun. But effectively, it is an adjournment. Okay. So ngayon, ang ginawa ng presidente, since walang session, dahil nga suspended or adjourned, nagpa-declare siya ng special session. So nandun din po yan sa ating saligang batas na maaaring mag-declare ang Pangulo ng call for a special session. Ngayon, hindi po special session yung ginagawa ng Senado at Kongreso kapag nag-declare ng martial law. Iba po yun. Iba, ang tinatawag dito yung parang exceptional cases. 3 po ang exceptional cases. Kapag pinaalam ng presidente na hindi siya capacitated na, hindi na niya kayang tumuloy bilang Pangulo, magkakaroon ng exceptional na session. Ang pangalawang case ay yon pagka ang gabinete naman ay nag-certify na hindi na kaya ng Pangulo tumuloy bilang Pangulo, then automatic magkakaroon din ng exceptional session. Pangatlo ay kapag nag-declare ang Pangulo ng martial law, then automatic without a need for a call magkakaroon ng ng session ang Kongreso. Ang special session po, hindi po pumapasok dyan sa exceptional circumstances, exceptional cases na yan. Normally po, sa dating practice ng ating Kongreso at saka ng Senado, ang special session ay tinatawag kapag recess o pagka ganon, pagka may adjournment. Please huwag niyo akong kulitin sa audio kasi tatapusin ko to. I will end this. Okay? It's very distracting. Ulitin ko po hindi po considered exceptional session ang tinatawag yung ganitong klaseng special session. Iba po 'yan. Okay? So, again, special session, they occur kapag naka-recess o kapag walang session. So, special session nga, if you remember, na yung time na dapat naka-recess ang Kongreso but they continued to hold hearings. If I'm not mistaken, nadamay yata doon ang ABS-CBN. So, those are special sessions. Okay? So, can the President call for a special session? Opo, kasi nasa saligang batas. Hindi ba daw po ito nag-violate ng separation of powers? Hindi po, kasi saligang batas na po ang nagsabi na pwede. Okay? So, yung sinasabi ng iba na hindi dapat nagdidikta ang Pangulo dun sa Kongreso, hindi, because it allows for this in the Constitution itself. So, hindi ito unconstitutional. Maaaring matawag pa natin na unconstitutional yung pagsuspindi ng Kongreso for more than 3 days. Okay? Ngayon, during the session, ngayon, marami kasing nagbabasa, sinasabi significant yung dates, ganyan. But, let's go back to why sinuspindi ni Speaker Cayetano yung session. Well, the theory is, and I emphasize that this is a theory kasi ayokong magmukhang may pinapanigan tayo. Kasi ina-explain ko yung batas. So, it looks like, ayan, nawala tuloy. Daming nagko-complain na naman Dun sa bakit pinapatawag ng Pangulo ito? Kasi para matapos yung budget. Bakit hindi natapos yung budget? According to some, hindi ito tinapos deliberately ni Speaker Cayetano para he can maintain the speakership. Kasi kapag tinapos yung budget, and then wala na siyang reason to continue his leadership. Ngayon, ang problema din ay yung pagsuspinde ng session ng Kongreso. Ang nangyayari is, nadidelay yung budget at saka of course hindi siya constitutional. Ngayon, in order na hindi maantala, kasi pag dinelay yung pagpasa ng budget, ang mangyayari niyan is, ang daming maaantala, lalong-lalo na sa first quarter ng next year. Okay? So, nangyayari ito madalas sa ibang mga presidente, so naaantala yung mga proyekto, nabibinbin sila, lalong-lalo na kasi hindi pa marirelease ng DBM yung pondo, usually in the first few months of the next year, pag na-delay po yung budget. Nire-release naman later on, but in the meantime, nagkakaproblema. So, in order to facilitate, para mapabilis po yung paglabas ng budget at makasigurado na hindi ito maaantala, then the President has called for a special session. Ngayon, ano yung reason kung bakit kailangan meron siyang mga general behind him? Kasi po, tunay naman po na may separation of powers tayo. And there's also such a thing as what we call a constitutional crisis. Okay. Ano po yung constitutional crisis? Ang constitutional crisis po ay kapag may two or more branches of government na umabot sila sa impasse na hindi mariresolba either nang sa pagbasa ng constitution or other means. Okay? At saka yung kumbaga, things will come to a standstill kapag hindi na-resolba ang impasse na yon. So sa tingin ko, nakikita, this is a theory, guys. You can challenge it. You can say I'm wrong or anybody can say I'm wrong because this is my theory. Ang theory ko kasi is nakikita ng Pangulo na padating na ang posibleng constitutional crisis and so nagpapalabas siya that he will take matters into his own hands and that he has behind him the forces of the executive. Ano itong mga to? He has the military and the police. So that was why it was necessary na kasama niya 4 na general nung siya ay nag-a-address sa atin. Para maging maliwanag, naggamit siya ng puwersa na available naman sa executive branch na he can legally use them para maipush, yun na nga, maipasa kaagad yung budget. Okay. Kapag kasi, halimbawa, ito na, ginawa na ng Pangulo ang lahat, including calling for a special session. Paano kung magmatigas ang Kongreso at hindi ipasa ang budget o kaya gumawa na naman ng paraan para ma-delay ito at hindi sila magtuloy sa session o hindi nila makamit yung pagtatapos ng budget. Hindi kasi daw katanggap-tanggap ayon sa Pangulo ang isang reenacted budget kasi nga ang dami nating kailangan for next year. Remember, yung budget kailangan responsive din dun sa ating pandemic situation. Nag-declare nga ng special session ng special session ang Pangulo. Okay? Ganun ka-importante para sa kanya. So, if the two branches reach an impasse, let's say, ang Kongreso magmatigas, kasi nga, ang pinaglalaban nila, hindi lang po budget, kung hindi, ang speakership. Nilalagay nila into issue itong speakership. Guys, hindi muna tayo magja-judge kay Speaker Cayetano ngayon, ha? Let's just discuss the situation and the circumstances. So, ito, kung magmatigas under the leadership of Speaker Cayetano, and kasi hindi matutuloy, kailangan mag-emanate galing sa Kongreso ang budget. Hindi pwedeng tumuloy ang Senado. I mean, they can discuss preliminaries but they cannot take it to a vote until they have a copy of the House version of the bill. So matitigil talaga yung buong proseso ng paggagawa ng ating budget or paggagawa ng GAA, yung General Appropriations Act. Okay? So what happens if there is a constitutional crisis? Okay? Pag sinabi ng presidente, pasa niyo yung budget, ginagawa ko ng lahat. Sasabihin ng Kongreso, ayaw, kasi baka tanggalin niyo si Speaker Cayetano or for whatever reason, ayaw. That's the impasse where there is no solution in the Constitution. Can we take the issue to the Supreme Court? Maaari, pero hindi tayo sigurado na mamamagitan ang ating Korte Suprema kasi usually ayaw ng ating hukuman na nakikialam dun sa internal affairs or dun sa interpretations halimbawa ng Kongreso sa kanilang sariling rules or usually hindi sila nakikialam sa ganon. So it is also very possible na hindi mamamagitan ang ating Korte Suprema and so we now have a true constitutional crisis. There is an impasse. So pag ganito, walang maipapasang budget, di ba? And so that is why the president had to send a very clear message na ito po, if you don't solve this, I will solve it. Diba? Kung hindi nyo gawin ng paraan, ako gagawa ng paraan. And, diba, anong mangyayari? Well, the president has to threaten with some kind of force kasi yun naman talaga ang language when there is somebody who doesn't want to do what you want them to do. There has to be a threat of force. Okay. Ngayon, maliwanag na ba yan? Okay. Pag is RevGov possible? Guys, huwag nyo namang tawagin RevGov kasi kailangan revolution and then revolutionary government. And I don't think the president is going there yet. So, anong maaaring gawin ng presidente kapag nagkaroon ng impasse? Okay? Well, he can, talk to the other congressmen and declare the speakership vacant or he will ask them to pass the budget and then later on na mananagot yung mga hindi sumunod, di ba? Can the president file cases against congressmen for this? No, I don't think that he will do that. I think that it is more likely that he will continue to build a coalition that will do what needs to be done. Halimbawa, pass the budget. Diba? Alam ko marami sa inyo nanggigigil sa RevGov, pero again, I would like to point out, revolution first before a revolutionary government. Can the president declare a palace coup? Well, yeah, of course he can do that. Of course, with the UN's recent resolution in our favor on the human rights issues on EJK, I think the president has sufficient stability if he wants to do that. Of course, maraming magrereklamo at sasabihin, diktador, just trying to stay in office longer, etc., etc. But if ever the president relies on non-constitutional or extra-constitutional remedies, I assure you that, not assure you, I think that the president has already not just planned for it, but has no intention of remaining in office for longer than is necessary. Okay? Alam niya ang gagawin niya for this. I would like to suggest lang para sa atin kapag nagdi-discuss tayo, huwag na tayong maging emotional or galit sa isa't isa kasi lahat naman tayo supporters ng ating Pangulo. So, what does the President need, diba? The President needs our continued support because if he has to resort to some kind of means to break an impasse, then I think, for me, with the national interest in mind, the best that we can do is be supportive. Okay. Tingnan ko na yung mga tanong. Sabi ni James Craig, lockdown or dissolve Congress? No, you can't do that if you're going to follow the Constitution. Kapag ginawa natin yon, then you have to declare martial law. Ang martial law, kailangan na-declare lang pagka state of lawlessness, invasion, rebellion, ganon. I don't think that is the condition here and now. Besides, yung within that, or it's possible na ang gawin ng presidente, mag-declare siya ng martial law, kung ayaw ng Kongreso, kung ayaw ng Kongreso na mag-session, gagawin ni Pangulo, mag-declare siya ng martial law para meron, and say that there is a state of lawlessness dahil dito sa mga kongresista. Magmi-meet ngayon ng Kongreso, mapipilitan silang magpulong. Otherwise, the state of martial law will continue, di ba? So ngayon, kung mag-declare siya ng martial law, magse-session ngayon. If the president plans this well, then during the session, yung mga tao niya nandun na and they can declare the speakership vacant. Ngayon, that's a theory, okay? I'm not saying that that's what the president is going to do, nor am I saying that this is what we want him to do. What we're saying is that this is something that he can try. He might try. Okay. How do you declare a speakership vacant? Well, it's not going to be easy. Kasi nakalagay sa rules, maaari namang i-declare na vacant ang speakership kung by nominal voting of the majority members of Congress ay ma-declare nila. Yun yung nga. Kailangan ba naka-session? Kailangan ba naka-agenda and all that? Well, ganito yon. The existence of the occupation of the speakership can be challenged at any time. Ngayon, paano kung ang speaker hindi niya i-agenda? Well, ganun naman po yung nangyari nung si Speaker Bebot Alvarez pa nagkaroon ng parang kudeta sa loob ng Kongreso at napalitan siya bilang speaker. All they had to do was put in Gloria Arroyo as acting speaker at i-agenda yung botohan dun sa kanyang speakership. Now, please take note, this is not voting by a majority of those who attend. Kailangan majority of all sitting congressmen. So, kailangan yan, trabahuhin yung mga boboto para ma-declare yung bakante yung office of the speaker, yung position ng speakership, so to speak. Ayan. Hindi ko i-discuss yung mga bakit ginagawa ni Alan Peter Cayetano ito kasi that might require a judgment on our part. What we know is that he wants to continue as speaker, so I guess we will leave it at that. Okay, hindi ko rin i-discuss yung pros and cons ni Mr. Velasco kasi nga, well, we will see. The Congress can declare the position vacant, and if the president plays his cards right and he talks to the other congressmen, then he might be able to swing this, to change again, to declare the speakership vacant so that the budget can be passed. Okay. Maraming nagsasabi, ang issue dito yung budget, hindi yung speakership. Totoo naman po yun. Ang patawag ng ating Pangulo is for a special session. Pero once nag-umpisa ang special session, nothing stops the other congressmen from putting the issue of vacancy to a vote. Okay? And that can happen anytime. That can happen even next year. And as long as there is a majority of the congressmen who are willing to vote in that direction. Okay? Alam ko, marami sa inyong galit kay Alan Peter Cayetano, pero wag na natin idamay yung galit natin. Let's just consider the law. Yun nga lang, of course, so yung iba, mga nagsasabi dito, dapat si ganito, dapat si ganyan, dapat si whatever. I think, huwag na natin guluhin yung usapan. Kasi, if we declare it vacant, put it to a vote, tapos ang daming ibang inonominate, it might end up with still Alan Peter Cayetano kasi mahahati ninyo yung boto, mahahati yung boto ng ating mga kongresista. And if the biggest block still votes for, and if Alan Peter gets a majority vote dahil na-divide yung iba, then that's it. Diba? Tinatanong ni Harry Raposas kung maaari mag-rekomenda ang Pangulo. Well, of course, but nobody is obligated sa Kongreso to abide by what the President recommends. Okay. So, ayan, dami pa rin sa inyong nagre-rekomenda. Para namang may boto tayo, wala naman tayong boto dito. Okay. So, tinitingnan ko yung mga tanong ninyo. Sige, baka dito mas madali makita sa sa iPad. Ano pa tayong volume? Okay, ano pa? Marami. Sabi ni Jay Bandolin Balaoro, marami galit kay Velasco. I don't care. I don't care kung maraming galit with any one of them. But I do care about getting the budget passed. So, comments. Ay, ano ba? Hindi ko makita yung comments niya dito. Any idea what are the numbers of APC and Velasco? Okay, since you want to talk numbers, ganito yun. Speaker Cayetano suspended Congress and he did not finish the budget. So, he did not finish the budget to maintain speakership, supposedly. Let's go with that theory. And he suspended Congress. Kasi actually, pwede mong patagalin yan. Tuloy-tuloy yung meetings, meron tinatawag na filibustering. Ibig sabihin, may mga kongresista dyan na maaari lang patagalin yung session para matagalan ang si Congressman Alan Peter doon sa kanyang pwesto as speaker. But he also suspended session. Ngayon, you have to consider, bakit niya sinuspindi? If he has the numbers, then he doesn't need to suspend. Kasi walang threat sa kanya, walang threat na may mananawagan na mag-vote of confidence, walang threat na may mananawagan sa kanya na i-declare ng vacant, etc. So, you have to take that into consideration. Bakit sinuspindi ang session? Para alam natin, pagka kinikilatis natin, does Alan Peter have the numbers? Well, we have to consider. If he had the numbers, then he would not be afraid to continue with sessions. At least that's the prevailing theory na nakikita natin. Pero, ako, I'm more concerned dito sa reaction ng ating Pangulo, and I've not seen him this angry before. Diba? Yung nagtitimpi and all that. And to be able to project that he has the might of the executive behind him, yung military at saka ang PNP na nakastand at attention behind him, that is a very strong message that he has force and he's not afraid to use it. Will he be able to use it? How is he going to use it? Yun ang hindi pa maliwanag dito. Pero kung ako nga siya, one method would be to declare martial law, declare a state of lawlessness, or declare martial law due to the pandemic, which is possible under RA 11332 kasi state of emergency, to declare it, and then it will compel Congress to meet, and then during that meeting or that session, then the congressmen can also take matters into their own hands. Para dun sa mga nagtatanong, is martial law a possibility? Well, it's always possible. Pero I would also like to point out, dahil merong RA 11332, maaari, they can declare a state of emergency for the pandemic, under the pandemic, so that the military can take over the law enforcement kung hindi kaya ng police. So, that's another factor that you should consider kapag ito na nga, sinasabi ng Pangulo, he will take matters into his own hands. So, dahil nanawagan ng, is it possible for the Congress not to abide by the call of the President? O nanawagan ng Pangulo, sabihin ng Kongreso, ayaw namin mag-attend. So, yung scenario ng martial law, posible yon. But it will not be for long. Kasi kung ang purpose lang ng Pangulo is para mapilitan sila umattend ng exceptional session, then he can actually do that. Okay. What other remedies can the President undertake? Well, the other one nga is to talk to the congressmen and have somebody call for another session. Well, yun na nga, nagpa-call ng session. So, ito na nga, the President is actually doing what he's already taken a remedy. Now, why is he doing this now? Well, the President, like I said, nanawagan siya yesterday evening, and nag-react naman si Alan Peter Cayetano at saka si Lord Alan Velasco, and si Alan Peter Cayetano said that he will submit the written version by November 17, something like that. And that is not what the President meant by saying dalian ninyo and pass the budget. Kasi from what I understand, yung usapan nila with ABC and Lord Alan Velasco, sa harap niya dun sa Malacanang was for a turnover on October 14. So, ayan. Diba? Paano, tinatanong ni Rowena Tamayo, kung at the end si Cayetano o Velasco na upong speaker dahil sa iba ang gusto ng mga congressmen na maupo, paano na ang gentleman's agreement? Yun na nga ini-enforce nga ng presidente yung gentleman's agreement, kaya significant yung pinapatawag niya yung special session from October 13 to 16. Sagasa sa gitna nun, yung October 14. Ngayon, hindi pwedeng ang presidente yung alone ang tatrabaho nito. So if Lord Alan Velasco has the numbers, then during these sessions, maaari nang i-declare na bakante yung position ng speakership if Lord Alan Velasco has the numbers. Okay? Tinatanong ni Derek Tay, Riley Matias, do you think APC just committed political suicide for 2022? I'm not sure. You know, the thing with politicians is that all they have to do is stay in position, and eventually we tend to forgive them. Halimbawa, pagka kunwari, some of the congressmen, meron silang ginawa na gustong-gusto natin. Halimbawa, pagtanggal ng ABS-CBN. Pero later on, they do something else. Then they're in favor one moment, they're out of favor the next moment. So it's possible that he's out of favor now, but later on he does something good. It's possible also that some people will forgive him. Ako wala akong intention, but joke. No. Well, we have a tendency to do that. Okay, so next. Checking. Ano pa yung mga tanong ninyo? Sabi ni Eagle Pacheco, sana isipin na lang ang bayan bago mga sarili nila. Nasa pandemic tayo. Ngayon, may mga nagre-raise ng issues against both of the candidates here, Alan Peter Cayetano and Lord Alan Velasco and all this. We can discuss their merits and demerits, but I think, diba, parang medyo pointless para sa akin. Kasi sila lang nga yung dalawa yung, yung kandidato dito. Hindi, if you notice, maraming nagsasuggest nga ng iba, pero nobody is taking it up that we know of sa mga politicians. Okay, dun sa mga nagtatanong tungkol dun sa ibang vloggers, huwag niyo naman po kaming pag-awayin. Maaari naman kami magkaiba ng pananaw dito o magkaiba ng analysis, pero hindi ibig sabihin na magkakaaway kami. Hindi kami namimersonal. So, wag naman din po ganun. Para sa akin, siguro kung merong ibang pananaw dito, then by all means, meron kang ibang pananaw. Yun yung point, diba? That we should be able to live with other people's adverse opinions. Wag hindi dapat toxic ang discussions. Hindi dapat yung nagbabangayan tayo or nagsisiraan tayo just because somebody doesn't believe the same things that we do. The whole point in having a space like this is para may room for all of us to be able to give yung our views. Ngayon, hindi lahat ng views may factual basis. So, dun sa iba, maaari tayong mag-disagree at sabihin, ang basihan mo kasi ito, mali naman yung basihan mo. 'Di ba? So, maaari mong sabihin, halimbawa, kung may nagsabi na, na constitutional naman yung ginawa ni Cayetano, then you can show them the constitutional provision and say, hindi pwedeng more than 3 days. Ngayon, kailangan nilang i-justify ano yung basihan sa batas para sabihin na hindi yan adjournment, and so on. Para sa akin kasi, nagiging toxic yung mga discussions kasi pag hindi nag-agree, naninira. So, wag naman po ganun. Hindi nga yun yung, di ba hindi yun yung point. So, ngayon, kung may naninira, pwede niyong tanungin, are you trying to convince me or are you just trying to discredit me? Kasi kung discredit, hindi kayo dumadami. Di ba? If we want to convince people, then there's no point na mag-asaran tayo o magsiraan tayo. And remember, politics is addition. Okay, tinatanong ni Rico Sanchez, what if the budget is not passed on time? I don't want to guess that because the president is already doing what he can. But, like I said, the president is moving nga kasi para hindi mangyari yan. Kung mangyari pa rin, di maghahalong balat sa tilupan. Sabi ni Bay Benedicto, will this speaker be the one to start the special session? Well, in theory, yes. But he does not attend, then the deputy speakers, the those who are present can vote on who will be the presiding officer. Okay. So, guys, huwag niyong pa kaming pag-awayan with any of the other vloggers. Alam ko, you might not like their views, pero kung maaari, huwag niyo na po kaming idamay sa mga sa mga disagreements. Let's unite as one with the goal to support the Duterte government, sabi ni Erwin. Ako, I agree with that. Hindi kasi para sa akin, kaya I don't like to really discuss the merits and demerits of Lord Alan or Alan Peter Cayetano is because what I am is I'm just pro-Duterte. What the president says, that goes. If the president says magre-revolution tayo, o sige, magre-revolution tayo. Because he's always said that. If the president says, let's go with this particular congressman, then I will support him because, he knows what he's doing. If I see that, kasi I'm looking at how he's handling this, and it's clear that he knows his constitution. Okay? Ngayon, on certain things I disagree, like keeping Sec Duque and the slow opening in between, the slow opening of travel and all of that. I disagree with those. So it's possible to be critical but still supportive of this president. Like, I will never ever support ousting this president. Diba? Natanong ni MJ Tabiano, what can we do now to support the president? Well, unang-una, we the 91%, significant yun yung 91% because the president might make some very controversial decisions. Halimbawa nga, mag-declare siya ng martial law to compel Congress to meet if Congress doesn't want to go back to session. Maraming aangal, maraming ngangawa and all of that. Let's just stay firmly behind the president and refuse any calls to rally against him or to show displeasure or all of that because nga we know that the end goal dito, what he's trying to do is simply either get the budget passed and to make sure we survive this pandemic. Okay? Sabi ni Fernan Buno, this way is better. Whatever the president leads us, we will support him. Okay. Sabi ni Arnold Yang, respeto natin ang gusto ng bawat vlogger. Kasi may kanya-kanya naman tayong manok. Basta ako, si Lenny pa din ng tuta. Grabe. Sabi ni Christian Benjamin, what's your take on the idea that since the president has 91% rating and having the military top brass behind him, it's symbolic as he send a message, what if the president goes for broke for this one and declares, sabi ko nga you can't have a revolutionary government without a revolution. So, the president can say, okay, I resign the presidency, I'm going to be the revolutionary leader. Pwede. What is my take on it? I think that no matter what, remember, the president believes, for instance, that Ferdinand Marcos was a brilliant man. So, Ferdinand Marcos was able to do what he wanted to do in a strictly legal and constitutional way. So, I think that the president is going to do it that way also. Yung sagot ni Maria Angela Kahanding kay Bong David, I fully support that. Pero, yeah. Sabi ni Johnny Dirks, unahin yung budget, wag yung birthday. So, alam nyo guys, yung napapansin ko minsan dun sa comment section masyadong toxic. There was even this guy who was threatening us. Pag nilampaso daw ni Alan Peter Cayetano si Velasco, babalik daw siya dun sa Luminous page at and aasarin niya tayong lahat. Ganun. What does that get you? It's your personal satisfaction, pero what does that really get you? Even that threat, what does that get you? Di ba nothing? Can the Senate somehow influence their counterparts from Congress to submitting 2021 budget version nila? Well, I think that if they had that influence, they would have already done that. Pero normally kasi, the Senate and the House, hindi sila nakikialam sa isa't isa. Pansin nyo nga na nagalit si, di ba? Si Senate President kay Speaker Cayetano for claiming na kung madidelay yung budget, yung Senado yung magdidelay. What is the worst possible scenario, tinatanong ni Edgardo Toledo, just in case hindi magkasundo yung dalawang nag-aagawan sa pwesto. It's not about that. Okay, it's whoever has the numbers. Hindi naman kailangan magkasundo eh. It's not a need. If you follow the legal processes, hindi nga sila kailangan magkabati eh. So, kasi ang iniisip ninyo na pag-uusapan pa ito. But I think we're really beyond that point. Kasi nag-usap na sila at hindi sumunod yata yung isang partido dun sa napag-usapan. Loud and clear, sabi ni Diyos, Pastor, wag ka magpa-distract sa mga thoughts. Okay. Sabi ni Alia de Peralta, kill your enemies with kindness, pero sobra na sila. Okay. Okay. Kantahan na lang po natin ng happy birthday yung dalawang alam. I-advance happy birthday na lang natin si Alan Peter Cayetano kasi December yata birthday niya. Hindi ko alam kung kailan ang birthday ni Lord Alan. So, dun sa mga may nagsasabing may nakalusot daw na angry bird na they don't like this life. Well, we're not in this to be liked. We're just giving among other things factual information and then our own point of view. Pwede naman mag-disagree, di ba? Sabi ni Gilbert Bubot Labayan Sanchez, di ba parang ginagawang sangkala ni APC ang Kongreso? I don't want to answer that kasi it will lead to so many things. But what we see is the reaction of the President, di ba? Nakikita natin na galit ang Presidente kasi hindi napapasa yung budget. And who is responsible for that? Sabi ni nakita ko si Joms Bryan, based on Sec Panelo's explanation, it seems that Speaker APC is unconstitutional and may be grounds for impeachment. No, you don't impeach a congressman. You cannot impeach a congressman. Hindi po impeachable official ang kongresista. So, but correct si Secretary Panelo, not impeachment. I don't think I saw that, but Secretary Panelo did not talk about impeachment. Okay? What he said was that suspending Congress for more than 3 days is unconstitutional. Ang nakakainis daw, sabi ni, nalusutan ako. Sabi ni Michael Luyahan, Cayetano failed to respect the gentleman's agreement. Sabi ni Johnny, good morning from Canada. Can the President order the arrest of congressmen to bring them to special session? It's never been done before, but an arrest should always be pursuant to the violation of a criminal act. So, or, kunwari, contempt, ganon. So, I don't think he's going to do that. Sabi ni Jeremy Huber, the general standing silently behind PRRD is the best message for the two Alans. I disagree. It wasn't two Alans. And that's only based on information from other sources, which unfortunately I cannot disclose. Sabi ni Menchi Milyamena, matalino po si Presidente, hindi gagawa yan ng hindi constitutional. I think so. Gustong mag-hijack ni Bong VDR, maiba ako, legal ba ang paglipat ng ABS sa A to Z channel? Kung nanonood kasi kayo ng karambola o nakikinig kayo, diniscuss po namin yan. Sige, hindi na ako mangiinis. ganito, yes, they can be a block timer. However, there's one view that says that they still have to be 100% Philippine owned in order to do that. Ang bawal naman sa kanila is to broadcast, di ba? What they're doing is they're selling content to a channel that has a franchise to broadcast. Good evening from Abu Dhabi, sabi ni JM Kabanatan Rothschild. The message ni PRRD is he's not a lame duck. Totoo yan. Kumbaga, ang sinasabi ng Pangulo, hindi ko 2 years to go ako. Ibig sabihin, wala na akong influence or parang powerless na ako as a president. Because this is the first time that we have a president who has maintained high ratings with 2 years to go in his term. Di ba? So, you're right and I agree with you on that one. What is clear, sabi ni Ma'am Maria Angela Kahanding, is ACP didn't really plan to follow both gentlemen's agreements. I think objectively speaking, yes. Kasi hedge pa siya. You know, for instance, that he refuses to have a session sana. He was completely avoiding an October 14 session. Sabi ni Joanna, saan po nakukuha yung energy and desire to keep us well-informed? Thanks for being selfless. Alam nyo, for the longest time, napabayaan ang ating educational system ng ibang mga administrasyon. And alam naman natin that in order to get things done, it requires cooperation both from the private sector and from government. So yun. We try to help as much as we can. Kasi hindi naman lahat na nakakaintindi o nakapag-law school para na iintindihan yung mga nuances na ginagawa halimbawa ng ating Pangulo. So, what we try to do on Luminous is simply to translate para mas maraming nakakaintindi, mas maraming nakikilahok dun sa diskusyon. Dati kasi parang halos monopolyo ng mga elitista, yung edukasyon, sila lang nag-uusap. Tapos everybody else sumunod lang kayo. Hindi po dapat ganon ang pagpapatakbo ng ating bansa. And since the president is the most widely popular president in our history, then, di ba, we want to bring more people to a better understanding of what he's doing. Okay, last 2 questions para makatulog na yung iba sa atin. Nasaan na yan? Sabi ni Gabriel Arin, he don't give an F. He just wants the budget passed completely. Sabi ni Ico Basilio, kayo po ba okay sa inyo si Velasco as speaker? Is he really linked sa ABS-CBN? I have not seen any evidence to that. At saka yung mga nagsasabing linked siya to oligarchs and all that, define oligarchs. And oligarchy requires yung families. Usually it's a dynasty. It's synonymous in some part, not completely, to dynasties. So yung mga sinasabi ninyong link, not exactly oligarchic. So sa akin, there's very little to discuss about Lord Alan Velasco because he hasn't really done very much. So hindi ako masyado makadiscuss about him. Mas madali kasi mag-discuss about Speaker Cayetano because he's always in the limelight, he's always talking, he's always doing something that allows us to have fair comment, di ba? I like that the president is showing to these 2 eggs who has the bigger balls. I would like us all to listen very carefully to what the president says and not to impose our own biases on what he says. What he says is his own. So, kailangan, pag nagbasa tayo, regardless of how we feel about any of the candidates, magbasahin natin yung sinasabi ng presidente purely based on what he says and on evidence on what he does. Okay? Sabi ni Sean Bacara, masikat pa nga si tatay ngayon kasi nilampaso na naman niya ang mga narrative ng mga hepas when the UN resolution came out in favor of his support on the war on drugs. Sige, tomorrow mag-live tayo on that one because it's so funny. Wala lang, it's just so much fun. Okay, para dun sa nagsasabi na may team Cayetano, team ganito, huwag niyo na po kami isali dyan. Hindi kami any team except Team Duterte. Di ba? Yun po yung team ko. My team is Team Duterte. Doon ako, of course, salingkit ako kay Team Duterte, but still, doon ako. Whatever the president says. And, kasi mas maganda yung posisyon niya. mas maganda din yung kanyang vantage point. So, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Let's discuss naman yung UN resolution. And, kung ganong kanilang paso yung mga efforts ng mga gustong magpa-investigasyon sa ating bansa. Okay? Maraming salamat, guys. Please, good night. Matulog na kayo ng maayos at huwag na tayong makipag-away kung meron talagang super-duper pro one side or the other. We can listen to them, but, ang ginagawa namin sa Luminous, pag masyadong toxic at nakikipag-away, that's the time when we will block them. Pero kung valid naman yung mga sinasabi nila at respectful naman, then we should also listen to their side. We may not agree, but the point is to keep talking to each other kasi yun yung nature ng ating demokrasya. Keep talking to each other and let's be Team Duterte. Diba? We are the 91%. Diba? We're with the president. And so if the president makes another controversial decision, I'll be right there saying, yeah, why not? Diba? Because we know that the goals are good for us. Okay, magandang gabi. Team Duterte tayo. Diba? There's no team speaker so, team speaker A, team speaker B, team wannabe speaker, whoever. There's only Team Duterte. Diba? Let's do this. And let's do this for the president. And let's not allow ourselves to be divided. Kasi yun ang nangyayari. Parang, kasi natatakot yung dilaw. I wouldn't be surprised if susulong nila yung mag-away-away tayo. And then, yung hindi na natin susuportahan ng presidente, gano'n. So, tuwa lang nila, di ba? So, whoever becomes speaker, we will respect the decision then of Congress, provided they complete and pass our budget on time. Okay? Huwag din tayo masyadong magagalit sa mga kongresista natin. Kasi, well, sometimes mahirap humindi sa mga binibigay. See you guys tomorrow. Let's discuss the UN resolution tomorrow. Team Duterte tayo. We are the 91%. Night. If I can find my finish button. Ano ba? Hindi ko nga makita yung finish button ko. Ano ba to? Na-block ng messenger. Sige, habang nandito pa ako, you may as well ask questions. Okay, Team Duterte. Good night, Team Duterte. See you tomorrow.